Just waiting for the final go-ahead from our judges.
And we're back. Sorry for the little disruption.
Both players are ready for this, the semifinals of Battle Hardened San Diego. Again, we've got 2K in total prize pool on the line. We've got a PTI. We've got a gold cold foil. And the
Glory.
And glory.
That's right.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Let's take a look at the equipment suite. Not a whole lot. That's a surprise on Nicholas Tagg's side. The flex spot in the Prism, of course, being the chess piece, Empyrean Rapture. And then, of course, Brodie Spurlock. All the usual suspects, save for one, Michael.
Yeah, what's going on down there in the foot slot? Time skippers.
Time of a time past, but still relevant here in the Prism meta. Why, you might ask?
Well, Time Skippers is a very important card because for 3 resources, you can gain an action point.
Hang on, do my eyes deceive me, or are we playing a blue Sift right now on Brodie's side?
Huh. Brodie's bringing the spice.
No doubt. That's a fascinating pickup. I guess it's an easy Transcend enabler?
Possibly.
Fascinating play. So let's continue talking about the time skippers real quick, Michael,
right.
while the players make their decisions. It's one of the easiest onboard ways to get around that pesky card, ALS.
Yeah, Arclight Sentinel. Basically, whenever an Arclight Sentinel is on the board, for those of you who don't know, it says it must be targeted by the next attack. And when you target an aura with Spectra, it destroys the attack. Therefore, Go Again does not resolve. So unless you have 2 action points, your turn's over. You get time walked. So time skippers is a great way to get around a time walk. You skip right over it.
Why walk when you can skip, right,
Yep,
Michael?
Absolutely. And for the low price of 3 resources, a blue deck like Zen doesn't even think twice. Get rid of a
50%
card.
off.
Yeah, exactly.
Here comes the first attack from our Prism player, Nicholas Tagg, and it is a good one. It's Wartune Herald in the red, coming in with Go Again due to Luminaris' static effect. We have a yellow in pitch, so this Herald is going to get Go Again.
Yep, coming in for 7, Wartune Herald.
Critical break point for Brodie Spurlock very early in this match. Got to decide if he wants to play this game a little bit slower and deny more and more value from Nicholas, who really wants one of these Heralds to connect so that he can fetch one of those Figments.
Yeah, those Figments are such high value when you're connecting with a 1 for 7 that also gives you a ward 4.
Yeah, 1 for 7, a great rate. Of course, with the drawback of Phantasm. However, I think most of these Zen decks are not packing a whole lot of 6-power cards.
Yeah, they might be on CNC and maybe Weakest Link. I don't know that Zen's running a lot more than that. And there is the Weakest Link.
Just as the words left your mouth,
yeah,
Michael.
I have a bit of a premonition.
And this is one of the better Heralds to be facing early because you can pop it. There are more than likely a rainbow set of Heralds of Triumph, which are not going to be popped that easily. Nicholas just says, all right, I'm not going to pay to get my action point back, or I will, but then I'll just pass the turn with it.
Yep, so a little bit of an IP penalty. Not literally a penalty, but choosing to keep a card is functionally similar. So not using his whole hand to its utmost efficiency.
Taking a look at the hand of Brodie Spurlock. Got Aspect of Tiger Body, but he's just going to kick it off with a Zephyr Needle.
Yeah, and bringing the Zephyr Needles into a deck that has a lot of 3 blocks is always a somewhat dangerous play, as we do expect these to get exploded quite early on.
Ooh, and what a way to explode it. It's that all you got. So not only is Chris going to take, Nicholas Tagg going to take a very vital piece of equipment from Brodie Spurlock, but he's also going to draw a card once the combat chain closes.
This is fantastic. I mean, the whole point of the Zephyr Needles is you're ripping cards out of their hand. Sure, the needle dies, but you get this tempo that you wouldn't otherwise get. But here we just see, yeah, I'll take that for free and draw a card.
And the follow-up isn't even that great for Brodie. He's just got to send a 0 for 3 without combo active.
Yeah.
Nicholas says, yeah, I'll pay that.
Mm-hmm. Looking like he took 2 there. Not sure.
Yeah, it should have been an additional 3. Maybe the life totals are correct on the pads, but not on our scoreboard. See if we can get that cleared up. But here comes that rainbow set of Herald of Triumph. This one is going to be way harder to pop, Michael, because it's going to give any defending card -1 power.
Yeah, so I don't think Brodie, well, I shouldn't say this, I don't know his deck list, but it's unlikely he's bringing any 7-power attacks. It's also got some other spice. I would have said it was unlikely that he was bringing a blue sift, but we saw that.
Definitely would have said that
So
was
I'll hold my
too.
tongue until I see it. But here we do have that Herald coming in. That is a 6-power Herald with Go Again.
Yeah, and Brodie very used to the spicy poppers. His first iteration of the Azalea deck, kind of post Prism's rise to fame, was packing those red. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name now.
It would have been Battlefront or the Findell's Fighting Spirit.
No. It was before those, so it was just the Raging Onslaught, if I'm not mistaken. Just the Welcome
just
to Wraith
good
2 for 7,
yeah, okay.
or 3 for 7, yeah. Looks like this is the first Herald that's going to connect. Nicholas going to fetch his first Figment of the game. Herald of Triumph straight to Soul. I do believe we're going to see the Figment of Erudition. Because why wait? Get the powerful one out right away, right?
Yeah, I think the only reason he might not choose that is if he doesn't plan to use the Arsenal.
Figment of War is the choice here.
And he goes pedal to the metal, goes for the most offensive-leaning Figment.
And pretty good because Empyrean Rapture is going to allow him to flip it immediately and swing Bologna.
Yeah, that's a pretty good attack. First of all, it comes in and deals an arcane damage. Is that right? No, it makes a courage?
No, so the Figment is going to make the courage.
Right.
Every time we swing the Angel.
2 arcane.
No. That would be Ravages.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're all right.
Courage and then +1 on the other angels that happen to be on the board.
Exactly.
That's right. Okay.
Now, Nicholas does not have anything left in Soul, so the likelihood of him being able to get value on that effect is maybe a little low on this turn. However, there are some tricks in his, not in his arsenal, but on his equipment suite. I have to be careful with flesh and blood terminology. He's got the Halo of Illumination, which it might be a little bit early to pop that, but that would allow him to put 1 more card into Soul.
Yeah, I imagine that Halo is going to be a critical piece at some point in this game to enact his win condition game plan. So not using it here makes a lot of sense just for 1 value. But you do see the Angel being swung here for 4 Go Again.
Because why not? You got 2 sources of Go Again from Luminaris, Angel's Glow. You got 1 on a Herald. As long as you got a yellow on the pitch deck, you got 1 on an Angel. So what
Use
the
it
heck?
all.
Let's just go 3 attacks wide, shall we?
And this is one of the things that Prism does so well is actually be really aggressive.
Here we go. 4 Go Again. Looks like Brodie's reaching for the pad.
And he's just taking it. Look at that.
Let's follow it up with another Herald, and this is another good one.
Yeah,
although
protection.
It is viable for popping.
It is. But if it's not popped, that extra ward could be the difference between keeping that Angel alive.
Yeah, extra ward because, of course, once it connects, we will create a Spectral Shield token as that Herald goes into Prism's Soul. Also, going to get another Figment because that's not a once per turn ability.
Yeah.
Static remains for the entirety of the turn.
Brodie would really like to pop this if he can.
Let's see if we've got any poppers to devote.
100 wins, bonds.
Looks like no. No poppers in the hand of Brodie Spurlock.
So
is a fearsome turn, though.
Absolutely.
But bonds donated to the combat chain.
Brodie
and the Herald is still going to hit.
Utilize it well. Would rather have it in the graveyard for future tutoring. And yeah, he takes the 4. Gets another Figment on the board. Nicholas Tagg. See what he finds this time. And critically, he also gains a little bit more soul to use.
Now we find that Figment of Erudition, which is going to spawn a Ponder token on his side of the board, allow him to refresh that arsenal.
I really like the order he did this in. He wasn't entirely sure that he would use the 5-card hand, but now that he's played the final card of his hand, I'll take an arsenal. Why not?
And also he's probably thinking, I want to get value off my chess piece, which means I'm definitely transforming an angel this turn, but I don't want it to be my angel of erudition. That's too valuable because Brodie is likely going to come back with a hand that is going to blow up this angel no matter what Nicholas can do.
Yeah, and when the Herald of Protection, was that a Herald of Protection that just hit?
It was, yes.
Okay, I'm not seeing
We may have missed
Spectral
our
Shield.
Spectral Shield trigger.
I'm hoping that Nicholas remembered that for his sake, but we have a That All You Got coming down. So very clean block here.
Those one power attacks are really pesky when you've got an angel on board, and you want to protect that as an asset.
Yep, and Brodie going ahead and transcending, waiting until after the damage step to use the drop in the ocean. Actually, may not have mattered in this case. It
Not
was
in this
already full
case.
blocked.
But hey, a diligent player always, no matter the stakes, is always going to do things in the correct order.
Yeah. And if Nicholas did, in fact, forget to put that Spectral Shield, that could be a critical error. You know, after a long day of Flesh and Blood, it's so easy to forget these simple little things.
Curious, Michael. We see a fetch of the Descendant Gust Wave.
Were there 2 bonds perhaps in his hand?
I don't believe in his hand, but I'm looking at that card in his arsenal for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tell of all tells. When you see that Descendant banish, there's no reason to go get that without a bonds.
So here we go. Follow-up is Crouching Tiger, which is going to get buffed by the Tiger Stripe Shuko because we've had an attack with power 2 or less base.
And this is the moment where you really wish you had a Spectral Shield.
Yeah, right you are. If that is a missed trigger, that is going to pay dividends for Brodie.
Oh, you know what? I'm completely wrong about that because the Spectral Shield would have been eaten up by the Tiger Stripe Shuko anyway.
Ah, yes, because can't be prevented.
Yep.
So this is a really curious interaction that we've seen several times today, actually. So if this Tiger is allowed to connect, not only will it destroy the angel, but it will also still connect with Nicholas's life total because Shuko also says damage cannot be prevented on the chain link that it's active.
Yep. This is such a good card into these illusionists, and we see Nicholas deciding to commit the Phantasmal Footsteps on block.
Which it is important to point out, like, if we had remembered the Spectral Shield, we still would have been able to donate that to the 100 wins and then go That All You Got on the Tiger.
Yeah, it would have been
still
really
a misplay.
nice to have, of course. And you know, I think these minor mistakes can be meaningful in these games, and it's usually those minor mistakes that sort of spell the difference between a victory and a defeat when you're sitting at the top tables in an event.
But also, it's important to mention, it's been a very long day for these players.
Absolutely.
It's been a long day for us, but we haven't been playing Flesh and Blood at the highest level all day.
I'm sure their brains are cooked.
So a missed trigger is just something that can happen.
And there goes the Angel.
Luckily, Nicholas getting the full ward block value on his Angel.
Or almost all of it.
I'm sorry, almost all of it. Let's see what will be the target for Bonds of Ancestry. There's not a whole lot of options in Brodie Spurlock's deck yet. Or, I mean, in his graveyard yet. Finding the aspect of Tiger Body. Not the most opportune time to deploy this card. Usually you want to see it on the back of a Chase the Tail, ensuring that you get both of your Tigers. This Tiger in the follow-up will only be worth 0. But hey, you just want to keep pushing damage.
Yeah, and the life totals right now are fairly even. We've only seen Nicholas commit 1 card to the defense this turn, as he will be drawing up again from the That All You Got. He's got 3 cards in an arsenal, so he's in a pretty good spot. 22 to 26, 1 card in Soul.
And he's packing a Parable of Humility, which is basically just an on-board, this round's on me. Something that could be really, really beneficial in these Zen matchups.
And he goes ahead and he thinks about establishing it before his turn starts. Would be a more efficient use of his resources. And decides against it.
What?
Just letting go of the 2 floating. chooses instead to pitch the card to play his second Herald of Protection.
This could be a bit punishing if Brodie has been able to find another popper.
And he's got the
do believe a
CNC
CNC is in his hand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this one will not connect. Nicholas will not have the opportunity to remember to get his Spectral Shield this time.
Will have the opportunity to buy his action point back, however. Unfortunately, Empyrean Rapture not online yet because the Herald has not connected. So we're not going to be able to flip that Figment of Variation for free and gain more card advantage.
Yeah, the moment that Nicholas decides to flip that is going to be critical. He may want to wait until he has a little bit more soul, or he may want to just rip it and start going as soon as possible so that he can have the tempo and put Brodie on the back foot.
Brodie Spurlock in the think tank in this semifinals of Battle Hardened San Diego. Brodie is working his way to being the Battle Hardened king of Flesh and Blood. Can he do it again here in San Diego?
And we already know a Kano will be waiting for one of these two players in the finals, as a Kano mirror is happening right now.
Not just any Kano mirror, Michael. A rematch of the streamed Kano mirror we had earlier on today. Eugene Galipchak and Majin Bey going head-to-head once again.
A chance for redemption.
Indeed. Although those Wounded Bulls are a hard thing to overcome. CNC devoted to the block. Looks like this Herald is not long for this world, as you said, Michael.
And Nicholas really wishing he had that parable at the moment.
We're going to pay to get our action point back. What can we do with it? Hey, another Herald. Herald of Triumph.
Now this one won't be poppable.
And Brodie says, that's A-okay with me. I already popped that first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Parable of Humility, just an amazing card in Prism. Not only because it kind of prevents popping, but also it's just infinite value if your opponent doesn't remove it, because -1 to every attack.
Yeah, it can be so strong on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And of course with Spectra, it's really annoying to remove. Not so bad if you can end the chain link with something a little bit less meaningful like a Zephyr Needle.
Exactly.
But it's still a wasted action.
Mm-hmm. And perhaps that was the thought process behind Nicholas Tagg pulling it back and instead going for the double Herald line.
Yeah, he may not have had the resources he needed to get the double Herald line off anyway, so he just opted to pitch it.
This is a Herald of Triumph 4/5. Brodie
Brodie's thinking
Spurlock
long and hard.
in the think tank.
Yeah, head's on his hand. What? Hand in his heads.
He can put his head on his hands.
Hands and head sharing the same physical volume of space.
He's got shoulders, knees, and toes as well, Michael.
I've heard about the shoulders. I noticed that was one of the highlights of the Tyler Horsepool match.
Yes, indeed. Brodie, however, showing us his hand.
Yeah,
unlike
no
Majin Bey and
shoulder
Tyler.
on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good sign.
Looks like we have chosen a card to block with. And also a Kasaya to boot. We do not want this Herald to connect. And Nicholas to get another Angel on board.
Yeah, Brodie really valuing preventing that Figment in this case.
5 is the block to meet 5 on the offense. No on hit, no Figment, no Angel. Nicholas Tagg passing back to Brodie Spurlock with 2 cards in hand.
It looked
and a
like he
dream.
had the Art of War, so he's setting up for a very, very explosive turn next turn. I expect to see no blocks besides armor, assuming he draws up anything half decent.
Brodie finally getting, not finally, he's getting another couple Transcend cards online. Looks like it's going to be Zephyr Needle on the combat chain.
And he would love to rip a card here. Nicholas Tagg would love another That All You Got. Only one left in deck, assuming he runs 3. And I don't see one in his hand, so.
We've also found a no block. We found the Light of Soul. The Light Gem Resource.
I don't know if Nicholas realizes how critical it is for him to put pressure on in the turn that's about to happen. He may be tempted to block here, but he's going to need to strip cards from Brodie if at all possible.
He's got one thing going for him, Michael, and that's that Brodie isn't sporting those shiny strides of reprisal. Instead, he's got the time skippers, so this Art of War is going to be a little less intense than other Zen Art of Wars. That being said, Nicholas could also just go ahead and drop that sticky ALS and stop Brodie's turn anyway.
That would be really good. Even if he used time skippers, an entire card committed to getting around the ALS would be a lot worse than not doing that.
Mm-hmm. That's 2 blocks, excuse me, in Nicholas Tagg's hand. We've got a Figment and also the Light of Soul.
And I think, was that a Soul Shield? Did I see that correctly?
See it. Oh, yes, you are right, Michael.
It's asking to be used on defense. Not really effective here.
No, this is actually not really the hand you want to have.
Yeah, he doesn't have a turn to return, so blocking seems correct. Even if he would like to strip cards from Brodie, he doesn't have the hand texture to do that.
We've talked about it before. Sometimes, if you can't send anything good enough, it's best to just kind of hope that Zen bricks. In this case, Brodie is going to be sporting an Art of War. Makes it a much riskier proposition. But hey, it's better than giving him a free chi, I suppose.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out is on the turn that Brodie decides to block with his headpiece and get that chi, he will also get a Tiger from his hero ability. So that Art of War will have a good banish target.
Indeed. Mauling Chi is the ask here. Got 5 physical damage coming through. Will ping for 1 more if it's allowed to connect. Nicholas Tagg in the think tank, essentially with 2 cards that don't block, but he's got his Soul Shield at the ready. Could be the perfect time to deploy it against this Mauling Chi. The issue is, what the heck do I arsenal after
Right,
that?
he doesn't want to arsenal the Figment. He doesn't want to arsenal the Light of Soul, and his only option to block is he's going to have to arsenal one of those or just pass. And yeah, Figments in the arsenal can be really dangerous.
We could perhaps just go ahead and throw the Phantasmal Footsteps in front of here. Pitch just to get the Figment out of our hands, then pitch the Light of Soul for Soul Shield. It's not great. It is a bit of an IP penalty, but you really don't want to have those Figments in your hand, do you, Michael?
No. And the Soul Shield going into Soul does not trigger Prism's hero ability, right? That must be a Herald that hits.
It's got to be a Herald.
Yeah, so that's not an out either. Halo?
Halo could be an option here.
It feels so bad. It's one of his best pieces.
You really want a power card in your hand for this. You want a Tome of Divinity. You want an ALS, perhaps.
It makes sense that Nicholas is thinking so long. Not necessarily because there's a right play, but because he might just feel so stuck. There's no out, and he's wishing there was. And look at that. He goes for the Phantasmal Footsteps play that you suggested. And it feels so bad, but I think this is correct. So biting the bullet.
Pitching the Light of Soul. Checking the top of the deck. We do, in fact, find a yellow.
Yeah, so he does benefit from getting a little bit more soul. And he'll get to search for a Figment. So, you know, better than nothing.
And if and when he's finally able to turn on this Figment of Erudition, he's going to be able to do work with it. So there was a riskier option here, Michael. He could have just gone straight for the Light of Soul with Soul Shield.
Right.
And if he had found a yellow, he would have gotten his Figments online, all that jazz. Then he could have gone to his turn, I suppose, and oh no, because then Empyrean wouldn't be online. Never mind.
Yeah, I think he still wants to just go ahead and play this Defense React out. No. He's valuing just holding on to it.
So that means, Michael, that we're going to transform that Figment of Erudition and then swing it with the other pitch card in our hand, banish from Soul, draw 2 cards, and see if we can make something a little more threatening out of these 2 cards.
Yeah, he's definitely thinking about either that or
Maybe Arsenal, Soul Shield, and pass?
I don't know.
Doesn't feel great.
I think he's... So he has put a Figment in his soul, right? So his chess piece has been activated.
So no, his chess piece is not active. So the activation of
from a
Prism
herald?
won't be free.
Okay. So then he would
I'm
have
sorry.
to pitch both his cards in order to swing an angel.
Yes.
Right. So again,
That is what I'm saying.
yeah. And it looks like he is doing just that.
And we're also going to have to banish both of those cards from Soul. Ah, decides to go for the Spectral Shield Angel instead of Angel of Erudition.
What are the chances that he Arsenal passes here?
There's a chance, especially because he didn't flip Figment of Erudition. Perhaps he's just saying, I want Ward 4 on board for whatever it is you're going to come at me with.
Yeah.
And a Soul Shield in Arsenal to boot.
And that's what he does.
Good call, Michael. Spotting the line that Nicholas was eyeing.
Yeah, just playing conservatively. He's really walled up, and I think he knows that Brodie has set some stuff up. He can't know about the Art of War, but he certainly suspects that he's in for a classic Zen turn, and he creates the defensive tools that he'll need to survive this.
I am seeing oodles and oodles of 100 wins.
That's
Brodie
scary.
Spurlock's hand. I believe that is,
Is that
300 wins.
Oh, no.
We also have a Levels of Enlightenment, though, so it'll kind of depend on how many of those 100 wins are blue and how many are red to figure out how Brodie is going to structure this turn. Luckily enough, Nicholas did not swing anything at Brodie.
Yep. Not giving
him the ability. Yeah, exactly.
It seems like the best players really understand when the right play is just Arsenal pass.
Brodie in the semifinals of Battle Hardened San Diego, seeing if he can piece together a nasty turn for Nicholas to answer. This would, if he goes for the multiple 100 wins line, this could be an opportunity for Nicholas to cash in on the Stonewall Gauntlet because, especially if we play that Art of War on top of it, and we have power greater than its base, then Stonewall Gauntlet's going to get...
He wouldn't know that until
the reaction step, basically.
So I would be very shocked if Nicholas put that Stonewall Gauntlet in front right now. But if he did, that would be a crazy heads-up play.
Well, and it would have to be on the next one because Brodie would wait for the reaction step.
Oh, he doesn't need it's his Angel's absorbing it anyway.
There's that.
So that sure would be a waste.
But so Stonewall Gauntlet activates on defense. So we would have to basically the trigger for Stonewall Gauntlet being devoted to the combat chain would be wasted before the Art of War is played. So
and he decides to banish that Art of the 100 wins to draw, which makes sense since he just pitched the other one.
Let's see what we've got from Brodie Spurlock. Is that 2 levels of enlightenment, or is that a chi card? Is that homage to ancestors?
I thought I saw. I think one of was a spinning wheel kick. I just caught a glance of it, but
yeah. So we must be spinning wheel kick, levels of enlightenment,
and
here we go. Spinning wheel kick is up next. Spinning wheel kick coming in for 4 go again. I'm sorry, 5 go again.
Right. Thank
with
you.
With the Art of War.
Yep.
How's the status of his blocking hand?
I didn't catch the cards in his hand. Of course, we do know that he has the defense reaction in Arsenal, which is very useful when you've got to block a very wide Art of War turn, at least when it comes to...
And this is about as much value as you're going to get on a Soul Shield versus a Zen. Most of his attacks are not going to come in for 6, unless they're those generics, weakest links, CNCs, etc.
Yep, so then we've got the levels of enlightenment, and 1 blue, so looks like he probably just chose go again. I didn't catch it. Did he draw a card there? I don't think so.
He did not.
Yeah.
No, we've got 1 card left standing.
Could be +2 as well. I didn't catch it.
Especially if he likes the card for Arsenal. Although I don't think it's +2. Otherwise, Nicholas would be losing these footsteps on chain link resolution.
Yep.
So must have been go again.
Makes sense. 4 go again.
Both players kind of having a laugh here. Ah, it is buff power. Brodie
Whoa.
just asked if Nicholas is taking 5. I wonder if Nicholas realized that he was going to lose these footsteps.
Yeah.
So Phantasmal Footsteps, a great blocking card, especially when your opponent is closing the chain constantly. You can devote them to the combat chain, pay 1, and they will get 1 block for the remainder of the turn. The rub, Michael, is if they are defending an attack with power 6 or greater, they will pop once the chain link is resolved.
A defensive piece with Phantasm.
Mm-hmm.
Not that common, but we see this on the Phantasmal Footsteps as well as one of the special D-reacts that Prism got, or I guess Illusionists got. We don't see it all that often, but sometimes it makes its way into a meta where 6 power attacks are not that common. This, however, is not that meta.
Yeah, and with Brutes running rampant, it makes sense. However, back in the days of the Lexi meta, Flicker Trick was a real staple in these Illusionist decks. Both players having a think still.
Yeah, very interesting to commit the Phantasmal Footsteps here. I'm not sure.
He could just be thinking we're at a point in the game where he's not super worried about getting popped anymore, or he'd just rather cash in the defensive value when he can.
I mean, he did have the 1 floating. Might as well, right? If this is the last time you're going to block with those footsteps, you might as well just go for it.
5 damage taken. Clean it up.
Yeah,
goodbye to the Phantasmal Footsteps.
So a fully conscious decision, it seems.
Seems like they never really existed in the first place, Michael.
Nicholas Tagg now sitting at 13 life. Brodie Spurlock at 27. And he still has the majority of his meaningful equipment. So Nicholas Tagg not out of the woods yet. Really needs to put on the pressure and build up a board of angels to hide behind if he wants to survive this. Oh, is that a Chase the Tail and an Art of War in Brodie Spurlock's hand?
We didn't catch that Arsenal card, so we don't know what he's sitting on naturally. Nicholas in the tank here, hopefully not getting tilted by that loss of the footsteps. It is a double Art of War in Brodie Spurlock's hand. However, the context of the hand is everything when you've got double Art of War. It's one of those power cards that can be extremely good when you stack them together. It can also be a little bit clunky. But here comes Herald of Protection in the yellow for Nicholas Tagg. This is 6 go again. On hit, straight to soul with that Herald. Grab a Figment, turn on the chess piece, and create a Spectral Shield.
Brodie does not have any poppers this time. Doesn't seem like he cares, because this is the time to go.
Go what, Michael?
Go wide. He's going wide. He's going and fetching a Chi. He's going and fetching another combo card and a Tiger, and he's got an Art of War.
Boy, howdy.
Nicholas needs to pray that he survives on this next turn. And he knows it. He's looking at that block, and this is the moment that he knew was coming eventually. Just hoped it never happened.
Surely we draw a Tome of Divinity on this next hand. Activate Halo and get ourselves an ALS. Surely? Surely? Okay, our Herald is connected. Looks like we're going to look for the Figment. We have remembered our Spectral Shield trigger this time.
Very good.
Which could be the difference between life and death. We see that there are ALSs in this deck. Just haven't been able to find them as of yet.
Yeah.
Nicholas wondering if any of these angels are the key to his success. We find the Figment of Rebirth. Empyrean Rapture is active at this point, so he can flip it for free if he'd like.
Could be risky to give that up now. Is this perhaps a turn to flip the Erudition, or is that risky too?
It could be. That last card is in his hand, yes?
Right.
Which means he could go ahead and swing the the Angel of Erudition, banish a card from Soul, draw 2 more. I think it makes a lot of sense.
It could be the time. Of course, you would like to keep that Angel around for as long as possible, and you're not keeping that Angel after a block with the
Traverse the universe.
thank you, Traverse the Universe.
Right you are, Michael. This turn that is going to come back at Nicholas is going to be very scary. So he elects to flip the Angel of Rebirth instead, probably just saying, I want to sink below sitting on board.
Yeah, and yeah, he just arsenaled like in the Ward 4.
Brodie kicking it off with an Art of War. Pretty much his only option because he needs to get rid of this Chase the Tail in his hand and figure out something else to do. Art of War is still just sitting on the stack.
Right.
That's
did
the delay.
He banish anything? Or?
Not as of yet.
Okay. So he hasn't chosen modes.
And the reason we're sitting here with Art of War on the stack is there's a possibility of an ALS, which is indeed in Nicholas's hand. However, he doesn't have a whole lot of resources otherwise.
Yep, and there it is.
So this is just going to be, I'm going to commit my entire hand to turning off this turn. I'm going to say, I got a power card out of you. That's great. And see if you can do anything about it. However, Brodie Spurlock's sporting some boots that allows him to get around this.
Yeah, and he has the chi in hand to pay for them, so may have just prevented the use of the Zen Hero power with the ALS, but he certainly did not prevent the use of 5 cards going straight into his face.
Yeah, even so, yeah, ultimately you have to live in order to play Flesh and Blood, and Nicholas Tagg is basically saying, I think that this Angel and Spectral Shield are all I need to survive this turn.
And he even has the resources to use the Zen Hero power. Thinking about it, pulling back.
He's also still got that other Art of War, so he could elect to roll the dice again.
And it looks like he's rubbing the chi on the table as if there was some kind of random luck component, and he's praying for the right thing to happen.
Brodie's showing his azalea chops. That's typically an
right,
azalea thing
right.
with the
Please,
blind
please,
azalea.
please.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he did it. He found the bonds exactly where it needed to be. Gets the Zen activation.
You mean
bonds
in the deck?
right on top of the deck. Perfect find. And this is not looking good.
No, indeed. We are going to go for that second Art of War. Banish Yield Tiger, which we got from the Zen ability, essentially making no downside to the Art of War. Let's see what Brodie drew.
This is looking bad.
We got another Chi, the Blue Descendant, which is probably going to have to be the combo card for the Bonds of Ancestry we found off of the Zen activation. The plus side for Nick is that when your opponent is sporting a Bonds and 2 Art of Wars, this is the moment to go for that Stonewall Gauntlet, because once Brodie has played the Descendant Gustwave, he's not going to be able to close the chain if he wants to be able to play the card that, if he wants to, for 1, play the Bonds, and 2, play the card that Bonds fetches.
And Brodie intelligently starting with a non-combo card, so if Nicholas did decide to commit the Stonewall Gauntlets here, they would be a block 2.
Yeah.
They wouldn't really get all that much value.
Yeah. So it's, even though this Angel and Spectral Shield are going to eat up the bulk of this damage, it's still going to leak, and we still have a lot of cards coming his way.
Yep.
This is probably lights on Nicholas Tagg's.
Blocking 5 of that 7. Go again, draw a card. Man, Celestial Cataclysm has nothing on that.
Brodie Spurlock just crossing his T's, dotting his I's, making sure he's got all the pieces he needs to end Nicholas's career here at Battle Hardened San Diego. And even with the Stonewall Gauntlet, it's essentially only negating one of these Art of Wars, and usually Zen only needs one Art of War to have a nasty turn.
Yeah. Yeah, Nicholas, is it no cards in hand?
It's no cards in hand. Every single one of them was devoted to the ALS.
Surely Brodie can't do 11 damage with what's left.
Surely. He may survive a little bit. Okay, so let's do the math here. We've got Descendant Gustwave coming in for 3. That's going to be eaten up for 2.
Eaten up for no, it's coming in for 5 because of double Art of War.
That would be a blue Descendant, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it sure
excuse
is.
me. Okay.
So this is 3. Stonewall Gauntlet must be devoted to the combat chain here in order to get full value. That's going to bring the damage leaking through down to 1.
Okay.
Then here comes Bonds afterwards, which is going to come in for 5. That's 6 total so far. Bonds is going to fetch any card, essentially, in Brodie's deck. It's probably going to be, at this point, the Mauling Chi, I believe. Oh, no, it's going to be 100 wins.
Okay. So
what do we have
just a
left
5
in the
damage.
hand? Man, Brodie still has a card left in hand.
Yeah.
And if it's 100 wins, I think that might be curtains. So Bonds is going to connect for 5. That means there's only 5 damage left. And surely if Brodie is banishing 100 wins, to fetch 100 wins, I think he's got what's left.
And
Yes.
There's 100 wins for 5, which should just do it.
It'll connect for 4, though,
Oh,
because
right.
of
Excuse
Stonewall.
me. Thank you.
And then it's Winds of Eternity.
Yeah. Might as well have been 100 wins.
Yeah. And what a close for Brodie Spurlock.
Brodie
What a turn.
Spurlock locks it in for the final match.
Brodie
against
showcasing the awesome tech choice of Time Skippers, especially in a deck, like you said, that is, even though it's an aggro deck and a ninja deck to boot, blues are its best friend.
Absolutely. Yeah, you saw he pitched 4 blues that turn, so he had no trouble paying for the Time Skippers, getting right around that ALS and closing the deal. Nicholas Tagg needing to commit his entire hand for that, and Brodie just committed 1 card.
Yeah. Yeah, one blue is a very low cost to pay to steamroll your way through an ALS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well played to both of them.
Indeed so. Very, very huge props to Nicholas Tagg for getting this far. Undefeated until now.
Wow. First place and then falling to the Zen.
Yeah.
And Brodie Spurlock just showing up and winning Flesh and Blood events so much. Very impressed with the guy.
Which means, Michael, what is our final match going to look like?
Oh, yeah. We got the Zen versus Kano. This is a good one. I really like this because typically Kano sort of scoffs at aggro decks. I'm the better aggro deck, he says. But in the case of Zen, being able to bring a lot of blues and Arcane Barrier, he's got the defense. So this can be a very swingy matchup. It can really depend on how the Kano draws and how the Zen draws, and it can fall either way. And sometimes you get a very close match, and sometimes you don't.
Yes.
We're just going to have to wait and see. And both players, Brodie and whoever won, I'm sure, if it was Majin or Eugene, they're both ready to go against Zen. 2 very talented Kano players, making it so that Kano got to the top once again in a Flesh and Blood tournament.
Indeed so, Michael. We're going to go ahead and check in on the status of the Kano Mirror matchup. And once that has concluded, we will be right back with the finals of Battle Hardened San Diego, where we will see Fire versus Mist duking it out for the title. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Flesh and Blood after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Kano Mirror is still firing off, so we decided to bring a familiar face to the screen. Brodie Spurlock, fresh off of your semifinals victory here at Battle Hardened San Diego. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I am ready for the finals. We're going to try to stop Kano from winning another Battle Hardened today, and instead Zen will win another event. I feel like both of them are formidable opponents. Kano Mirror is arguably the most intense matchup in the format, perhaps, or most difficult. You got to know your stuff. I don't know. There are a lot of hard ones out there, but they're grinding it away right now. Last I checked, life totals were 3 to 6. They both have multiple epots in play. So
wow.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. You mentioned it being a taxing matchup. They've played this exact matchup twice today.
Oh, yeah.
They've played one on stream already, and now it's a rematch.
They played each other in Swiss.
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yes.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So very mentally taxing for both of them, I'm sure. Let's talk about your matchup, though. There's a card that absolutely sang in that Prism matchup. What was it, Brodie?
It was Time Skippers. Yeah, I think Time Skippers is very strong. At first when I picked up Zen was not playing it, and then when I found out that was something people were doing, I was like, huh. I thought about it a little bit more, and I was like, dang, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When I play against Prism, I feel like ALS is normally like the lose con.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially you block with the hat and shoes together. You've got your 6-card hand, and then all of a sudden you've dealt, maybe 1 damage, and you pass, and now your hand contains a tiger, and all your stuff is gone, and your Artivore's gone. It's really bad news. I think Time Skippers is really strong. Not too much to say about it. I guess it's kind of self-explanatory. In that game, I did end up getting ALS, which I think as the Prism, once you see the Time Skippers in play, it's got to be a pretty tough choice whether to actually fire off the ALS.
Especially when you're pitching out the entirety of your hand to do it. And so how stoked were you seeing your hand and knowing that you basically got a free reign to present lethal?
I was pretty happy. It also kept getting better. So he did it in response to the first Artivore. I was like, okay, I think at that point, maybe my only blue in hand was the Chi, but I was like at the very, I know for sure I will be able to get 2 action points in some way. I draw my first 2 cards. It's 2 blues, and then I Artivore again and draw 2 more blues. So just infinite resources to activate the Time Skippers and a 0 cost to pick off the ALS, which is pretty nice.
And hey, why not a Levels of Enlightenment with all modes active while you're at it?
Yeah, that's the first time that's happened to me where Time Skippers contributes to levels.
That's
cool.
pretty amazing. Yeah, it just like an extra bit of synergy, because why not?
Yeah.
Let's talk about another spicy card that we saw at the top of that game. Was that a Sift that we saw you play turn 0?
That was a Sift. So I'm a reasonably big fan of Sift in Zen. I'm only playing 2 at the moment. I think it's probably like the worst blue card in the deck, but basically I've tried a lot of different blues and ultimately decided I just wanted a 3-block in that spot. So it's possible that some 2-block is better, but I think of the 3 blocks available, I'm a pretty big fan of Sift because it's 0 cost, has Go Again, and the sync, especially like early on in the game, all those things help you transcend, and that's really what I want out of my blues. I just want to be able to transcend early and often, and Sift helps with that a lot. Every time you draw it on turn 0, if your hand doesn't have a transcend card, you pretty much just fire it off, put 2 cards under and draw 2. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, honestly, once I saw you play it. Because, I don't play a whole lot of Zen, but anytime I do, I literally just want 0 cost blues with Go Again, right? To enable transcends, and yeah, what the heck, why not? So you said it's part of the blue base, so it never comes out of the deck, is that correct?
Maybe you sideboard it out sometimes with weird in and outs and stuff, but for me it's a main deck card.
Okay, very cool. And I guess it kind of sung here, because were you able to get a good fix off of it on turn 0? Do you remember?
So I actually think I made a mistake on turn 0. My hand was Sift, Drop in the Ocean, Tiger Swipe, Spinning Wheel Kick. And I decided to sync both of the combo cards and dig for a couple things. Maybe another Transcend card, maybe mostly just cards that have potential to actually end up dealing damage turn 0. Any 0 cost Go Again would be really good. Also dig toward poppers, which I did end up drawing a popper.
Yes.
But I think it was a mistake. I think the best line with that hand was play Sift, let it resolve, play Tiger Swipe for 2. He gets to block and filter however he wants because he knows it doesn't have Go Again. Path aside, I guess. And then just play the drop on the Tiger Swipe and hold the Chi in hand, Arsenal Spinning Wheel. Because basically the fact that my 4-card hand had a guaranteed Transcend available, and I shipped it away and risked not having that, and in the end didn't end up transcending that turn, and ended up, I think playing, I ended up IPing the drop, and then pitching it or something on the following turn, so I ended up never transcending with that card. So that particular hand, because I already had a transcend card, I actually think was not a good showcase of Sift's power. I guess it was still a Go Again blue, so it enabled the play that I should have made.
Yeah.
I actually let Sift psyop me there into being a dummy, but
well, and you definitely presented it to us, and I was sitting here next to Michael, grabbing his arm, is that a Sift in a Zen deck? So I'm glad you played it just so we could see it, and those folks at home could see it as well. I want to talk about another moment during that during that match where I kind of I'm a bit of a loud laugher, and I think you guys heard me over in the feature match area. Luckily, I wasn't giving any information away. I was just laughing at one of your ticks that I think definitely comes from a lot of Azalea play. You were really rubbing that Arsenal card as though it was like a blind Azalea, and you're really hoping for that Endless Arrow to close out the game or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I guess I fidget with it when I'm thinking it might come from Azalea because it's like when you Harmony. No, Harmony's not a good example. I don't know anything. Oh yeah, Harmony. I'll put the
Harmony
top
works.
card
Yeah,
on the table and flip it over.
yeah.
And I guess maybe with the Arsenal it's the same thing. All that time playing Azalea and warming it up. That's funny. I would not have noticed that,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Speaking of Azalea, I'm an Azalea main. Do you miss it?
Yes and no. Azalea is a lot of fun to play, but to be honest, I was kind of happy to switch to something else recently because I felt like I've been playing Azalea for so long as pretty much like the only deck I was working on, and I felt like I was starting to get a little bit deep into like too much of like, I don't know, like hero main syndrome where I felt like every tournament I was like, man, I have so much practice on Azalea, it probably just makes more sense to play this than anything else. And that kept happening. And for Nats, when Miss Veil was coming out, I was like, I'm not even going to try the other heroes. I'm just going to play into them as Azalea. I'm just going to like lock it early because I have so many reps. I think it's probably going to be good. And I personally regret not playing Zen for Nats. I didn't play a single game as a Zen until after the tournament.
Wow.
And once I tried playing as it, I was like, this deck's pretty good.
Yeah, I heard you had a pretty funny interaction with Evan Herndon, who won Nationals, where you were kind of like, "What? Why have I ever been playing Azalea?" Zen is so powerful.
And I mean, like, Azalea is still a strong hero, but I feel like the main reason you would play her in the past is like to prey on these low to the ground aggro decks. And if she's not shutting down like the premier aggro deck
Yeah.
of the format, then like I feel like some of the draw to play her is just gone.
Exactly, especially when you consider the value proposition of hitting your random Prism or Enigma in the middle of the tournament, which is inevitably going to happen. So if you can't inevitably beat Zen, then maybe it's better to leave her at home.
With that said, though, just want to give some love to all of the Azalea players out there because, I mean, she is still a strong deck. She still has good matchups, and you can still beat Zen.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I don't want to end that on a discouraging note. I just think she is not as good as Zen.
I will take you not leaving that on the discouraging note. I'm not stopping to play her anytime soon, but I hear you on the power of Zen. And that's the way it is. And so let's see, Brodie, does this make 67 Battle Hardened victory or potential finals for you? Or are we about at that number? I think we're approaching it for sure, right?
I am definitely.
Do you keep track anymore?
I like to like kind of keep track of like stats and stuff. Mostly just because I think it's interesting. But
Yeah.
I do not know the answer to that question though. No, I'm excited to be in the top 8 and have made it to the finals. Excited to go up against one of these Kano players. At a Battle Hardened recently, Majin knocked me out. I think in the top 4.
Grudge match.
Like which top 4 is always kind of the most sad place to lose. You made it all the way and then you don't quite get the PTI.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be cool to get a little bit of a rematch there. I've played him several times. Obviously, a really strong player.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm really excited.
Awesome. Well, we are looking forward to it, Brodie. I'm going to let you get a little bit of time in the think tank, maybe to relax, eat another ham sandwich, that kind of thing, and then we will see you for finals, Battle Hardened San Diego. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for sticking around, folks. We've got more Flesh and Blood action after this. Don't go anywhere.